J. Robert Oppenheimer is one of the most complex figures in modern history. He was a brilliant theoretical physicist, a celebrated scientific leader, and the central architect of the world's first nuclear weapons. Yet, he was also a man who spent the second half of his life warning humanity about the very technology he helped unleash. To understand Oppenheimer is to understand the dramatic tension of the 20th century. The race for scientific progress, the fear of global conflict, and the ethical struggles of a world transformed by nuclear power. This is the story of a man whose life was marked by both triumph and tragedy, by genius and by consequences that would follow him to his final days. Julius Robert Oppenheimer was born on April 22, 1904, in New York City, into a wealthy and cultured Jewish family of German origin. His father, Julius Oppenheimer, was a successful textile importer, and his mother, Ella Friedman, was an artist. The household valued literature, the arts, and intellectual growth. From a young age, Robert was described as intensely curious but socially withdrawn. He preferred books over playmates and developed an early fascination with minerals, chemistry, and poetry. He was, by all accounts, a shy child, but one with a remarkable memory and a deep introspective personality. At the Ethical Culture School in New York, Oppenheimer excelled academically. He showed a natural inclination toward the sciences, but was equally captivated by languages and philosophy. Teachers and classmates recalled that he often appeared to be lost in thought, grappling with questions far beyond his age. Oppenheimer began his university studies at Harvard in 1922. In typical fashion, he pushed himself relentlessly, completing a 4-year program in just 3 years. He studied chemistry initially, but quickly shifted his focus to theoretical physics, a field undergoing revolutionary change. At this time, European scientists such as Niels Bohr, Max Planck, and Werner Heisenberg were reshaping humanity's understanding of matter and energy. Quantum mechanics was emerging, and Oppenheimer wanted to be part of this new frontier. He continued his studies at the University of Cambridge under J.J. Thomson, although his time there was marked by emotional instability and frustration. Oppenheimer struggled with the experimental side of physics and preferred the abstract beauty of theoretical work. Everything changed when he moved to the University of Göttingen in Germany to study under Max Born. Göttingen was the heart of quantum theory, attracting brilliant young scientists from around the world. Here, Oppenheimer thrived. He published numerous papers, completed his PhD at just 23, and gained recognition as a rising star in the scientific community. Upon returning to the United States, Oppenheimer accepted teaching positions at both the University of California, Berkeley, and the California Institute of Technology. He became known for his intense lectures, sharp intellect, and ability to inspire students. During the 1930s, he made significant contributions to quantum mechanics, cosmic ray theory, astrophysics, and the study of neutron stars and black holes. His work on quantum field theory helped lay important foundations for future research. However, this period also revealed his complicated personality. Oppenheimer was brilliant but often distant, charismatic yet difficult to read. He moved in circles of intellectuals, artists, and political activists. He supported social causes such as labor rights and anti-fascism, and he associated with individuals who were members of the American Communist Party, connections that would later come back to haunt him. Despite his political sympathies, Oppenheimer was not himself a party member. His interests were broad and emotional rather than ideological. He cared deeply about the world and its direction, especially as tensions rose in Europe. When news broke in 1939 that German scientists had achieved nuclear fission, the global scientific community recognized the immense implications. If the process could be controlled and weaponized, it would create a bomb of unprecedented power. With World War II escalating, the United States feared that Nazi Germany might reach this goal first. In response, the U.S. government increasingly sought the expertise of American physicists. Oppenheimer played an early role in theoretical calculations related to nuclear chain reactions and neutron behavior. His broad knowledge, leadership qualities, and ability to unite different scientific specialties made him a valuable asset. In 1942, General Leslie Groves, head of the U.S. Army's Manhattan Engineer District, made a surprising choice. He appointed Oppenheimer to lead the scientific direction of what would become the Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer's most defining period began with the establishment of a secret scientific community in Los Alamos, New Mexico. The site, located on a remote plateau, became home to thousands of scientists, engineers, soldiers, and workers. It did not appear on maps, and mail was censored. Families lived behind guarded gates with strict security protocols. Despite these conditions, Oppenheimer fostered an atmosphere of collaboration. He brought together leading physicists, Enrico Fermi, Richard Feynman, Hans Bethe, Edward Teller, and many others, and encouraged open scientific discussion within the secured environment. Oppenheimer worked with relentless intensity. Colleagues described him as magnetic, persuasive, and surprisingly effective as an administrator. He served as the intellectual bridge between multiple fields: theoretical physics, engineering, chemistry, metallurgy, and explosives. By 1945, two bomb designs emerged: Little Boy, a uranium-based device using a gun-type mechanism; Fat Man, a more complex plutonium implosion design requiring precise symmetric detonation. On July 16, 1945, the world's first nuclear explosion occurred in the New Mexico desert. Codenamed Trinity, the test produced a blinding flash, a rising fireball, and a shockwave felt miles away. Witnesses described awe, fear, and a sense of entering a new era of human capability. Oppenheimer later recalled a line from the Hindu scripture Bhagavad Gita: "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The bombings of Hiroshima on August 6th and Nagasaki on August 9th, 1945, resulted in devastating loss of life and led directly to Japan's surrender, ending World War II. For Oppenheimer, these events marked a profound emotional shift. Although he had supported the wartime effort and understood the reasoning behind the bomb's use, he was deeply shaken by the destruction and civilian casualties. In the months following the attacks, he expressed sorrow and moral concern. He visited President Harry Truman and argued against further nuclear arms escalation, urging the creation of international controls for atomic energy. Truman reportedly dismissed him, calling him a crybaby scientist. The relationship between Oppenheimer and political leaders soured from that moment. As the United States entered the early Cold War, the atmosphere of political suspicion intensified. Anti-communist sentiment grew, and past associations, no matter how casual, were scrutinized. Oppenheimer continued to serve as an advisor on nuclear policy and became chairman of the General Advisory Committee of the Atomic Energy Commission, AEC. He supported international cooperation and restrictions on nuclear weapons. However, he opposed the rapid development of the hydrogen bomb, a far more powerful thermonuclear device. His stance placed him in direct conflict with several influential figures, including Edward Teller and elements within the U.S. government who favored aggressive expansion of nuclear capabilities. The political tide turned against him. Old acquaintances from the 1930s resurfaced in FBI investigations. His security clearance came under question. In April 1954, Oppenheimer was subjected to a highly publicized security hearing by the Atomic Energy Commission. The proceedings were intense, adversarial, and deeply personal. Accusations that he had been influenced by communist sympathizers, that his judgment was undependable, that he opposed key national defense programs. Although he denied any wrongdoing and was never charged with espionage, the hearing painted him as politically unreliable. The scientific world reacted strongly. Many prominent physicists defended Oppenheimer's integrity and contributions. Others, like Edward Teller, testified that while Oppenheimer was brilliant, they did not trust his judgment in matters of national security. The final verdict was damaging. Oppenheimer's security clearance was revoked. He was effectively removed from government service and excluded from future nuclear policy decisions. This moment marked the lowest point of his life, a symbolic fall from grace for the man who had once been celebrated as the father of the atomic bomb. After the hearing, Oppenheimer withdrew from public policy. He accepted a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, where he focused on writing, teaching, and thinking about the broader implications of science in society. He continued to advocate for nuclear arms control and international cooperation, speaking around the world about the dangers of nuclear proliferation. In 1963, the U.S. government, under President Lyndon B. Johnson, awarded Oppenheimer the Enrico Fermi Award, one of the nation's highest scientific honors. The gesture was widely seen as a form of political rehabilitation, acknowledging past mistakes and how he had been treated. Oppenheimer himself received the recognition with quiet dignity. He died on February 18, 1967, from throat cancer at age 62. His final years were marked not by bitterness, but by contemplation and continued dedication to science and peace. Oppenheimer's legacy is one of extraordinary depth and complexity. He made pioneering contributions to quantum mechanics, offered early insights into neutron stars, black holes, and cosmic radiation, and helped train a generation of physicists who would shape the future of modern science. His leadership during the Manhattan Project united some of the most remarkable scientific minds of the 20th century, accelerated the end of World War II, and opened the door to the nuclear age, a development that reshaped global politics and introduced unprecedented questions about the nature of human power. Yet, the very achievements that brought him fame also confronted him with profound moral dilemmas. Oppenheimer understood earlier than most that scientific breakthroughs carry responsibilities as great as their potential. His later warnings about nuclear weapons reflected the burden he felt as someone who had helped create them, and his life came to symbolize both the brilliance of human intellect and the weight of its consequences. The story of J. Robert Oppenheimer is, in many ways, the story of a world undergoing transformation. He was a scientist whose discoveries changed the trajectory of history, a leader who guided one of the most ambitious projects ever attempted, and a man who spent his final years grappling with the ethical dimensions of his own success. His journey, marked by achievement, controversy, and introspection, continues to shape how we think about science, responsibility, and the future of humanity. Though the nuclear age has evolved far beyond the world he knew, the questions he raised remain as urgent and unresolved as ever.